Cass Gilbert, November 24, 1859, May 17, 1934, was a prominent American architect. An early proponent of skyscrapers and works like the Woolworth Building, Gilbert was also responsible for numerous museums, St. Louis Art Museum, and libraries, St. Louis Public Library, State Capitol buildings, the Minnesota, Arkansas and West Virginia state capitals, for example, as well as public architectural icons like the United States Supreme Court building. His public buildings in the Beaux Arts style reflect the optimistic American sense that the nation was heir to Greek democracy, Roman law and Renaissance humanism. Gilbert's achievements were recognized in his lifetime. He served as president of the American Institute of Architects in 1908-9. Gilbert was a conservative who believed architecture should reflect historic traditions and the established social order. His design of the new Supreme Court building, 1935, with its classical lines and small size contrasted sharply with the very large modernist federal buildings going up along the National Mall in Washington, D.C., which he disliked. Heilbrunn says Gilbert's pioneering buildings injected vitality into skyscraper design, and his Gothic skyscraper, epitomized by the Woolworth Building, profoundly influenced architects during the first decades of the 20th century. Crisson and Flanders note that his reputation among architectural critics went into eclipse during the Age of Modernism, but has since rebounded because of respect for the integrity and classic beauty of his masterworks. Gilbert was a skyscraper pioneer. When designing the Woolworth Building, he moved into unproven ground, though he certainly was aware of the groundbreaking work done by Chicago architects on skyscrapers and once discussed merging firms with the legendary Daniel Burnham, and his technique of cladding a steel frame became the model for decades. Modernists embraced his work. John Marin painted it several times. Even Frank Lloyd Wright praised the lines of the building, though he decried the ornamentation. Gilbert was one of the first celebrity architects in America, designing skyscrapers in New York City and Cincinnati, campus buildings at Oberlin College and the University of Texas at Austin, state capitals in Minnesota and West Virginia, the support towers of the George Washington Bridge, various railroad stations, including the New Haven Union Station, 1920, and the United States Supreme Court building in Washington, D.C. His reputation declined among some professionals during the Age of Modernism, but he was on the design committee that guided and eventually approved the modernist design of Manhattan's groundbreaking Rockefeller Center. When considering Gilbert's body of works as whole, it is more eclectic than many critics admit. In particular, his Union Station in New Haven lacks the embellishments common of the Beaux Arts period, and contains the simple lines common in modernism. Gilbert wrote to a colleague, "I sometimes wish I had never built the Woolworth Building because I fear it may be regarded as my only work, and you and I both know that whatever it may be in dimension and in certain lines, it is after all only skyscraper." Gilbert's two buildings on the University of Texas at Austin campus, Sutton Hall, 1918, and Battle Hall, 1911, are widely recognized by architectural historians as among the finest works of architecture in the state. Designed in the Spanish Mediterranean Revival style, the two buildings became the stylistic basis for the later expansion of the university in the 1920s and 1930s and helped popularize the style throughout the state.